Hi everyone. In this video, we will going to see about the second normal form. So in the last class, we had seen about the first normal form. So in the first normal form, so what is meant by first normal form? So first normal form, there should not be any redundancy, which means we have to remove the repeated data for a single attribute. That means every attribute in a column should contain an atomic value, which is a single value. So if there are more than one value for an attribute in a column, means we have to eliminate that. So that process is the removing of redundancy or repeated set of data. So that is first normal form. So here we will see what is mean by second normal form. So second normal form, it generally builds on the first normal form by requiring that each non-primary column, each non-primary key in a key column in a table must be fully functionally dependent on primary key. So that means the table should not contain, any partial dependencies. So I will tell you clearly what is meant by a partial dependency. So partial dependency means in a table we can have more than one key as a primary key. So the key apart from non-primary key, we call it as non-primary key attributes or non-key attributes. So the non-key attributes, so all the non-key attributes in a given table should be fully functionally dependent on the primary keys. So if we are having more than one primary key in a given table, so all the non-primary column, all the non-primary keys should be fully dependent on both the primary keys. So that is the main concept. So if one key attribute is dependent on primary key, where the other attribute is not dependent on the primary key, means that again that we call it as a partial dependencies. So when there is a partial dependency, we have to eliminate that partial dependency. So that is the elimination of that partial dependency, we call it as second normal form. So we can say that the table is in second normal form means the table should already be in first normal form. That means there should not be any redundant or repeated data, and also there should not be partial dependency. When both these conditions are satisfied, we can tell that the table is in second normal form. Okay, so in this example, just look at this example. Here we are having order ID, customer name, item ID, item name and quantity. So what are all the primary keys, or what keys can be taken as a primary key in this table? So here as this table does not satisfy the 2NF, I think this table satisfies the first normal form, correct? So as this all the values are atomic value, so this table is in first normal form, but this table is not in second normal form. So I will tell why this table is not in second normal form. Here the customer name, you all know this customer name is a non-primary key. This is not a primary key. So this is one of the non-primary key. So this customer name depends only on the part of a primary key, customer ID. See, look at this table. In this table, what are all the primary keys? So in this table, order ID and customer ID. Both order ID and customer ID are primary keys. But the customer name depends only on the customer ID. Customer name does not depends on the order ID. Similarly, if we take the attribute item ID, means item ID depends on customer ID and also it depends on order ID, right? So item ID means there is from the customer ID only we can able to understand which customer bought this item, and also for what order ID this item belongs to. So we can say this the item ID belongs to both customer ID and order ID. So the item ID is fully functionally dependent on customer ID and order ID. Next, item name. When we take this item name, it depends only on the item ID. It does not depends on customer ID, and it is not necessary to depend on the customer ID and order ID. So here exists a partial dependency, because here mainly the customer name is a non-primary key. This depends only on the customer ID. That means it is only one of the primary key is customer ID. The non-primary key customer name, this is not dependent on the another primary key order ID. So here exists a partial dependency. So in the second normal form means we have to eliminate this partial dependency. So what to do for this elimination of partial dependency? We have to divide the table into two tables in order to remove the partial dependency. Now here I have divided the table into order table and customer table. So in the order table I am having order ID, customer ID, item ID and quantity. So here this customer item ID depends on both customer ID and order ID. Similarly, the quantity depends on both customer ID and order ID. And I had derived a new table which is called customer. In the customer table, I had included only customer ID and customer name. So now this customer name depends on customer ID. So in the customer table, I am having only one primary key, which is customer ID. So now the customer name is fully dependent on a primary key, since there is only a one primary key in this table. So in both the table satisfies the 2NF. In both table there is no atomic value, there is no redundant data, and also there is no partial dependency. So now the tables are in 2NF. I hope you clearly understand what is second normal form. The next class we will discuss about third normal form. Thank you.